Alright, welcome back, new viewers and game viewers. Thank you for helping me hit 450 subs on YouTube, and it is time for a new tier list thanks to that. Now, a few things before we begin. Let's have some ground rules. This tier list is based on my personal opinion of these Pokemon. The Generation 3 Pokedex, obviously, as you can see. Their battle prowess, design, color scheme even, my personal attachment to them, all of that stuff. Secondly, you see that those Mega Evolutions here, like the Mega Starters, we're going to ignore those for now, just like in previous tier lists, because they will get their own separate list. And, yeah, there are 7 tiers from S to F tier, and that's how I'll be ranking them. So why don't we jump right into this? And we'll start off with Shriko. Now, right off the bat, the starters in this game, in my opinion, all 3 starter lines, this is the first generation where all 3 starter lines I think are really good. The only other generations, in my opinion, that get even close to that is Gen 4 and 7. So, Shriko, I'm tempted to put it anywhere between A tier and B tier, since it is my least favorite of these 3 starters, but it's still really cool. So, Shriko, you should be the first B tier contender, because it's a nice looking gecko, and it definitely transitions well into its other evolutions. Okay, Grovile's cool, you gotta go straight into the A tier. Maybe the anime is having a little influence on it thanks to Ash's Grovile, but honestly, a really cool middle stage evolution. Not my favorite middle stage starter evolution, but it's sleek and I like that. Alright, Sceptile, A tier with you as well. You're even cooler. Actually, well, maybe not even cooler, slightly less cool, but you're still very cool. And it's pretty good in battle too, actually. While some grass starters like, say, Meganium suck ass, Sceptile manages to pull off the pure grass typing very well, in my opinion. And gets really cool moves like Leaf Blade and Dragon Tail recently now, thanks to Scarlet and Violet's DLC. It got Shed Tail, which definitely is going to skyrocket its usage, I can say that. And Torchic, honestly, straight into S tier with you. Not my favorite starter in this generation, and by process of elimination, obviously that's Mudkip, but we'll get to that in a second. But Torchic, have a lot of attachment towards this thing. It's adorable, liked it in the anime, and hey, it's an easy second choice in my opinion if I decide not to go with Mudkip in a Gen 3 run. Or a Hoenn run if we're talking Horus. Alright, Combuskin, you might have to get dialed down a little bit, but not by much. Your design does seem slightly off, but it's still cool in some ways. And again, the anime definitely makes it cool, and it's pretty good in mid to early to mid game. If you're, you need something good for Roxanne or for Broly and stuff like that. Alright, Blaziken, straight S tier with you. Blaziken is super cool. It's a beast and competitive thanks to the speed boost ability. Yeah, it's got an awesome design. The anime once again made it super cool. It gets loads of coverage moves like Brave Bird or Thunder Punch or Rock Slide, Earthquake. This thing's a beast. If you haven't used it yet, you really, really should. This thing is awesome. Mudkip, just like I did with Cyndaquil in the previous list, just straight with all 3 of them. Starting off with Mudkip, easily my first choice in any Generation 3 run. Mudkip is so good early game, mid game, and late game, and because Hoenn has a lack of grass type Pokemon, or notable grass type trainers, unlike any other region that has at least one, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure every other region besides Hoenn has at least one grass type specialist. But because of that, definitely makes the Mudkip line a lot more viable than if there were more grass types running around. And the grass types that are in Generation 3, like Roselia or Trophius, are pretty underwhelming, so, and at that point you'll have a bunch of other options to deal with those. So Mudkip is adorable, Salamarshtomp, yeah, it does look a little derpish, but it's still a decent middle stage evolution, a nice progression in the middle of Mudkip and Swampert. Mudkip's cuteness and Swampert's cool. And now Swampert, super good in battle, has the great water ground typing, super strong, has awesome coverage moves like Ice Punch, Poison Jab, and Ice Beam, and Rock Slide. Like, this thing can be a tank, this thing can deal out some good damage, and like I said before, the lack of notable grass-type trainers really makes it stand out, and grass-types are really easy to counter as is, so if you're using Swampert, you're pretty much guaranteed to get through a Generation 3 run pretty nicely. Alright, enough gushing over the starters, it's time for the more common folk. Now, Poochyena, honestly, it's cute, I guess. The first Hyena Pokemon, and I think the only one to this day? Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it is. C tier. That's all, it's just kind of cute, and it's a good early game Pokemon. Mightyena, I'll have to put you in D tier. Well, you look cool design-wise, but man, are you underwhelming in battle. You get Intimidate, which is nice, but, like, there are other Intimidate Pokemon, even in Generation 3. Why would you settle with Mightyena? And I'm only putting it that low just because of how underwhelming it is in battle, and I've stated it in previous videos, but it needs an evolution, seriously. Why give Bisharp an evolution when Mightyena is right there? I'm just saying. Alright, Zigzagoon. Underwhelming E tier. I don't dislike it enough to put in an F tier, but far from my favorite regional rodents. And, it's just there, really. It fulfills its role as an early game Pokemon pretty well, but other than that, though Poochyena is better, as I stated before. Now, Lanoon, I kind of am okay with Lanoon, actually. I like the fact that it was, for a while, up until Terrestrialization, the only normal type, if you don't count, pre-Gen 6 Togekiss, that got extreme speed. And I think that gives it a bit of a niche, too. Also, it's got an avatar symbol on its head, so I think I gotta give it extra points for that. But props to it, well, I was about to say props to it getting a new evolution in Generation 8, but that doesn't exist on these lists. That's another rule I had to mention. Any Pokemon that get future evolutions in later generations, we're going to ignore them existing with that, since, like, take Golbat, for example. If I were to count Crobat in the Generation 1 list, that would have raised its ranking a bit more, so I just forgot about that rule. I had to put that in there. But yeah. But speaking of Lanoon, it makes me wonder what Hoenn Obstagoon would look like. It'd just look like the average Joe of the Pokemon world, wouldn't it? Oh well. Wurmple. Don't dislike it enough to put it in F tier. Underwhelming, early game bug Pokemon, there are better ones. End of story. Though it does have a pretty interesting gimmick that's really hard to manipulate, since its evolution method, depending on if it evolves into Silcoon or Cascoon, is based on an invisible personality stat that there's no way to manipulate it, so it's essentially random whether you get Silcoon or Cascoon, so... And hopefully you get the one you want, or else, well, you gotta start all over. And Silcoon, underwhelming, same with, well, we'll get to Cascoon in a second, but... Silcoon, it's essentially just a discount Metapod, let's be real. Like, you're not gonna have it for very long since it only evolves in 3 levels. I don't know, but it's just underwhelming. It's essentially just discount Metapod. Now Beautifly, discount Butterfree, you're going E tier. It's literally, like, dude, if I want to use a Butterfly Pokemon, I'm always going to go for Butterfree. Butterfree, 1, has better abilities like Compound Eyes, and 2, has access to, I think, a bit more moves than Beautifly. I could be wrong about that, but I guess design-wise it's slightly better than Butterfree, but that's about it. And now Cascoon, if Silcoon is discount Metapod, Cascoon is discount Kakuna, you're going over there, but I'll give it this. It definitely looks a bit meaner than Silcoon, so I'll edge it up just a bit more. Dustox, the original Moth Pokemon. Actually, that's not true. Venomoth, forgot about that. The second original Moth Pokemon. It's slightly more defensive than I almost said Silcoon. Than Beautifly. So, I mean, it's got a slightly more interesting typing. Poison Bug is surprisingly defensive. But that's about it. Yeah, you can stay low in D tier. You're slightly better than Beautifly and nothing else. You're essentially a discount Venomoth. Anyways, Lotad. The very first water grass type. Fun to design, but a little underwhelming, and you do find it pretty easily early game, so I believe if you're playing Sapphire / Alpha Sapphire, if I remember correctly, because C-Dot's in Ruby and Omega Ruby. But you get a relatively early game. It's a good answer if you're having trouble against Roxanne. I doubt you would, since it's pretty easy to counter her at that point in the game. Like, I guess if you chose Torchic and you didn't evolve it, that'd be a good reason to use Lotad, assuming you're playing Sapphire / Alpha Sapphire. But let's be real, if you're playing Alpha Sapphire, who the hell's gonna have trouble against any of those gym leaders? Anyways. Lombre. That's slightly better. Yeah, slightly better. It's based on the mythical Kappa, which is pretty cool. But that's about it. It doesn't really grow much out of Lotad and whatnot. I mean, if you have the patience to train this thing, since it was one of those trait evolutions that only learned moves in its pre-evolved stages, so if you have the patience to train it up, you could be rewarded. Ludicolo? Let's say, some people might think it's a little racist. I mean, I can kind of see where they're coming from, but clearly that wasn't the intention here. And it's surprisingly decent in battle for what it is, and pretty tanky too. It has some decent abilities, so because of that, low end B tier for it. And can be useful if built correctly, so depending on what you're trying to build it for, that is. I just wish its design was less goofy, let's just say. C-Dot. Actually, I'm a big fan of C-Dot. Well, maybe not a big fan of it, but a decent fan nonetheless. Yeah. C-Dot just being a basic all grass type if you're playing Ruby / Omega Ruby. And it's a nice, decent choice for a little bit, though there are better grass types in my opinion. You can definitely troll people at Explosion if you really wanted to, but there are other Pokemon for that as well. Nuzleaf, definitely better than Lombre. I'll put it in high-end C tier. Well, that could be high-end C tier here. Later on, it could be mid-C tier. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But Nuzleaf, yeah, that's quite cool. Decent design. Its name is based on, I believe Nuzlocke were based around it. Its name, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But that definitely helps it out a little bit. And it was the very first grass dark type. Far from the only one. Hoo boy. Okay, Shiftry, I like Shiftry. This guy's cool. Got better in later generations. It's got a cool design. It's based on the mythical Tengu, just like how Lombre is based on the mythical Kappa. It's okay in battle, not the best in battle, but its design really does save it here and why I have it as so high at A tier. And one other rule I forgot to mention, the closer to the letter tier, the more opinion of it I have in that tier. Forgot to mention that. Talo, one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite regional bird besides the Pedo line. Yeah, you're gonna go in low-end E tier because, I mean, it's cute, I guess. I think it's based on a swallow, I could be wrong. Well, Swallow, obviously, is judging by its name, but yeah. I don't know, I prefer Hoodoo, that's just me. Now, Swallow, I might get some heat for this. I don't like Swallow. I'll say it right now, I do not like Swallow. My least favorite regional bird of all the regional birds from Generation 1 to 9. My least favorite one. And I guarantee you, unless Generation 10 introduces something really fucking dumb looking and is awful in battle or something and absolute shit, I doubt I'm gonna dislike anything more than Swallow. Sure, it gets some decent moves in battle, like, say, Boom Burst or Heat Wave, and as of Generation 7, it has plus 20 to its special attack stat, from going from base 50 to 70, but why would I use this guy over Mega Pidgeot or Staraptor or Corviknight or Talonflame? You know? It gets Guts, sure, but there are other better Guts users out there. Just, so it's underwhelming to me. That's all I gotta say. Wingull, underwhelming. End of E tier. I don't dislike it enough for it to be an F tier, though. It's your generic, it's kind of a slightly different take on a regional bird, but for the water rather than for the land, so I guess props to Hoenn for doing something a little different with Wingull. Pelipper. If it wasn't for getting Drizzle in Generation 9, I wouldn't put it in an F tier, but, and unlike Wingull, at least Wingull looks kind of cute, I guess, but Pelipper, you look dumb. People only started using you because of frickin' Drizzle, and that's it. Like, if it wasn't for Drizzle, everyone would forget you exist. And some people say it's beak, bill, whatever the hell it is, looks like a toilet. And I hate that word with a burning passion, so low-end D tier for you, I might as well put you in F tier, but you're still better than Swallow. Alright, Ralts. It's found early game, which means you can have it in your team throughout the entire game, and it's pretty good throughout well, it's not good throughout the entire game, because at first, Ralts is very, very weak, so you're going to have trouble using it in the first few levels. But once you get into a Kirlia, and learn Psychic at a really early level once it's a Kirlia, it can really pick up some steam. So because of that, low-end C tier for you. And as I was talking about Kirlia just now, I'll switch you in the middle of C tier. I like your design, it's quite adorable, and you're decent in battle, and a nice transition to Gardevoir. Alright, I have one Vendetta with Gardevoir, which I think I mentioned in previous videos, but why can't it be partially male? I mean, Generation 3 maybe it makes a little sense before Gallade existed, but ever since Gen 4, they couldn't have just changed that to where it's only female. Seems like an obvious change that they just chose not to make, and because of that, it lowers its points a little bit, but at least Gardevoir is good in battle, and its design is quite nice, so, and it gets quite a lot of coverage moves like Thunderbolt. You could do, you could do Calm Mind strats with it. Even in Generation 3, when Shadow Ball was considered a physical attack, it could still be decent in coverage that way. Alright, Surskit. The very first bug water type, and the only one in Cell Generation 7. So, I'm tempted to put it in either low E tier, high F tier. Because look, it's cute, but that's really all it has going for it. So because of that, yeah, like low end E tier. It's really cute, and that's it. It's found a early game as well, but why are you going to use that over anything else in this list, or in previous generations? Masquerain. Not much else. It gets Intimidate, gets some decent coverage moves like Heat Wave, despite being a bug type. That's it, really. Shroomish, very good early game Pokemon, and my go-to grass type for when I do Generation 3 runs, specifically in the originals, not exactly in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And because of how early you can get it in the game, and it's got a pretty decent design as well, it's quite goofy actually, and in a good way. So I think I'll put it just below C-Dot. Breloom, very good in battle. Despite its lackluster base stat total of 430, it gets a lot of good moves, like Spore or Mach Punch. And you can run certain coverage moves on it, especially back in Generation 3, like Sludge Bomb for other grass types. So because of that, I think I'd put it in high-end B tier. And this design is okay too, but I do wish it was just a little bit better in battle. If it just had a higher base stat total. They should give it a buff at some point in the future, even though it's already pretty decent, as I said before. Slackoth. Get a little sloth thing, and it evolves later into a pretty big beast in battle. I'm going to put it in high-end A tier. And again, you find it pretty early in the game. Though I guess the one problem with it is it's pretty hard to use early game because of its garbage ability, so for that, actually, I think I'll lower it a little bit. It's better than Combuskin, though. Alright, Vigoroth. I do like the name of it. It's actually pretty decent in battle. Good for a mid-game. Though there are other normal types you could use, I'd say. So I put it in A tier as well. And it's a nice little break in between, like, Truant, between its two evolutions. Or its pre-evolution, and then its evolution. Slacking, you already know, Slacking is one of my favorite normal types alongside Porygon-Z and Zangoose. I have to put this thing in S tier. Despite its garbage ability, which there are ways to overwrite, it's very powerful, on par with that of Groudon and Kyogre with a base stat total of 670. Which, how could that not be good? Like, you could do really broken Hyper Beam strats with it back in Generation 3. Since, and you can still do that to this day, specifically with Giga Impact now. Since the recharge term will coincide alongside Truant. So that's a nice little strategy for you if you didn't already know that. But if you have ways to override its ability, this thing can become a real menace. The ability does drag it down a little bit, as I stated before, but there are ways to deal with that. Nincada. Still to this day, the only bug ground type, weirdly enough. It's a little underwhelming design, but its uniqueness, especially its unique evolutions, I'd say give it low D tier. Ninjask, really cool, actually. A tier for you, you're cool B Pokemon, and probably the only B Pokemon I'm honestly okay with. So let's put you in mid A tier. Because it's pretty decent in battle, it's fast, it's a good baton pass user, cool design, speed boost user. Hey, what's not to like about it? Shedinja, a gimmick. Basically the Shuckle of this generation, only it does the opposite of what Shuckle does. Instead of Shuckle trying to stick around, Shedinja, if it gets hit by a special move, a super effective move, it ain't gonna be around for very long. Or it won't be around, period, I should say. And I think to this day it's still the only bug ghost type, which is a pretty underwhelming type combo. But because of its interesting gimmick, I put it in low B tier, because it's really not the best in battle, unlike Ninjask, which in my opinion is much better. But if you use Wonder Guard correctly, it can be very disastrous for your opponent. So yeah, there's some use you could have for it there. Alright, Whismur, an underwhelming Pokemon. I mean, you could easily farm these guys in, what was it, the Rust Turf Tunnel, I believe it was called. So I guess that gives it some bonus points. I'll put it above, I'll put it at the top of E tier. It's definitely a decent Pokemon, but not decent enough to be in D tier. I get it, D for decent? Okay. Loudred looks kind of dumb, but it's okay mid-game, I'd say. It can take hits alright, and I don't think it does damage too well enough to really warrant it being in a higher spot, so let's put it in high-end D tier. Exploud, probably one of my favorite Pokemon this generation. So, not good enough to be an S tier in my opinion. But, if I'm not using Slacking, this is definitely my second normal type that I'd use, personally. It takes hits decently well, gets a lot of coverage moves per being a normal type. And, yeah, it's got a really cool design being based on those, organs and whatnot. Not the human body parts or other animal body parts, I'm talking about the instrument. Excuse my stuttering. But anyways, Makihita, never really thought about it, how much I like or dislike this guy. His design's fine, I guess. Decent early game fighting type Pokemon, though I prefer some other ones. Yeah, like I said, I never really gave it too much thought, so I'll put it in mid-E tier. And that's about it, really. Hariyama, actually, kind of decent in battle, but if you need a bulky fighting type, I think there are better ones. 1 and 2, fighting type isn't really meant to be bulky, it's more to be offensive. I mean, huge HP stat with middling defense stats, which is, I've stated it before, it's such a baffling design decision to do that. So, I think I'm going to put it, like, low-end C tier, I think is better. This design is fine, it's based on them pseudo wrestlers. Do what shows better in battle, but it trying to be bulky as a fighting type just doesn't work. Alright, Azurill. A normal type before becoming a water type. Of all the baby Pokemon, this one's probably one of the more well, they're all pretty underwhelming, but Azumarill's probably one of the most underwhelming ones of the bunch. So, put it below I almost said Swallow, Tailo. It's just, it's there. It was a baby Pokemon I don't think really needed to happen. And like I stated before in previous videos, baby Pokemon were purely made just to, showcase the breeding gimmick in Generation 2. They didn't need to keep going with it, and this isn't the last generation they do that, so be careful. Nosepass. Looking at it with the lens of Probopass not existing, it's super underwhelming. I'm almost tempted to put it in F tier, honestly. But I don't think I dislike it enough for that. So, instead, we'll put it right above Pelipper, because it doesn't really do much. Its design is based on the, I think it's based on those Hawaiian stones, or whatever the hell they were called. The Maui stones, I think they were called. Which is a decent origin, yeah, but this thing's kind of screwy in battle. It's a rock type, so it's bound to have some trouble when it has that many weaknesses. It doesn't really, other than maybe taking a hit or two, it doesn't really have a good niche to it, or role. So, yeah. Alright, Skitty. It's cute, and that's it. That's really all Skitty's got going for it. Delcatty. Never thought of it before, but I think Delcatty deserves F tier because its design is fine. It's based on one of those little neck pillows, as you can see with some parts of its purple fur. That's the only thing interesting about it. Everything else, it absolutely sucks in battle. Its stats are underwhelming. It has probably one of the worst abilities ever created in Normalize, where it turns all of your coverage moves into normal type moves. So if you run into a Rock Steel or Ghost type, especially a Ghost type, you're fucked. You're not going to be able to do anything to it. I mean, you could try pulling some weird attract strats with it, but we all know how underwhelming that is. I'd rather paralyze or confuse my opponents, which are both more reliable and just, better. So sorry, Delcatty, you're in the F tier. Sorry, not sorry, I should say. Now, Sableye. The very first Ghost Deck type. I mean, it was pretty sucky up until it got Prankster, I believe, in Generation 5. But it gets some decent utility moves to really take advantage of that, and other non-status moves like, say, Fake Out or Shadow Sneak, if you want to revenge kill something, or give something a flinching. So because of that, and its design is pretty decent as well, in my opinion, but I think mid-C tier is appropriate for you, because at least you have some things going for you. Mawile, up until the Fairy type was added, was super underwhelming, and even with Fairy type, it's still pretty underwhelming. People are pretty much just going to use it for Intimidate, and then it's Mega Evolution, but again, ignoring the Mega. We're gonna put you in... I think low D tier will have to do. Because you're pretty underwhelming in battle even with Fairy type in later generations. And just, the mouth thing is the only cool thing I like about its design, really, but that's about it. Ooh, we're getting some real good ones now. Aeron. Despite being a metal dinosaur, I think it's quite cute, actually. So we're going to put you in high and B tier. And you're found relatively early in the game as well. Aeron's cool, you gotta go in high... let's put you in low... Yeah, let's put you in low A tier. Because Lairon's pretty cool and a nice progression in between its two evolutions. It's decent mid-game, especially being a Steel type, though that added Rock typing really does hold it back defensively. Probably one of the worst types you can pair with the Steel type. Aggron. Alright, Aggron's one of my all-time favorite Generation 3 Pokemon. This guy is so cool. Design-wise, it's awesome. It gets some cool moves. Like, it's actually decent in battle. I wish it was a little bit better in battle. 1, because of its aforementioned Rock type. And 2, it has base 110 attack, which I wish its attack stat was just... buff it to like 130 or something. What are you doing? Like, it looks like it could really one-shot you, if you know what I mean. Like, just one-shot you. Real good with one of them horns. It should have 130 attack, not 110. And I wish its HP stat was a little higher as well. If that were the case, I think I'd like it even better than the Swapper, but it's really, really good as it stands, so... Aggron, you're awesome. Alright, Meditite. It looks like it has an onion on its head. Not the best design, though. It's a decent early game Pokemon, I suppose, if you can use Pure Power well. And being the first fighting Psychic type, and I think... No, it's not the only one, because Gallade in later gens, but at the time it was the only one. And I think that gives it some slight points. High D tier. Medicham, it is better in battle. And again, especially ever since the physical special split, it definitely got a bit better. But its design is still kinda dumb, and even with Pure Power, can still be underwhelming in battle. So, I think we'll put you mid-C tier for that. Actually, yeah, like, around here. Electrike. You know how much I like them canines. The dog and the teeth, obviously the dog, not the teeth name of it. Electrike. That's a nice dog Pokemon. Far from the worst one. Oh, we'll get to that one in a later list. But... let's see. I think we'll put you above Trico. Because green is a good color for it, same with the little bit of yellow it's got going. And again, can be found pretty early game, so that's a good plus. And it evolves relatively early at level 26. So good on you. Manectric. A good go-to electric type option if you don't want to use any of the older electric types like, say, Magnemite. And it's got a pretty decent wolf-like design to it as well. So because of that, I'm gonna put you in A tier. And it's pretty decent in battle too, loading coverage moves like Overheat. Plus on Minun. Underwhelming. I don't dislike him enough to be an F tier, so... yeah, let's put him above the Silcoon line. Or the Wurmple line, excuse me. Because they're both just... I mean, they're the very first double battle duo, far from the only ones. Especially in later generations. But for the original double battle duo, they're pretty underwhelming. If they got, like, evolutions or something, which I know at the time Pika clones having evolutions was unheard of. But still, if they had some sort of evolutions, they probably would shine a lot better. Pun intended, being electric types. But the plus and minus being a nice little nod to double... Well, not a nod to doubles, but, being a pairing of some sorts, which goes well with their theme about being around double battles, learning double battle moves like helping can definitely help it out a little bit. Just a little. Volbeat and Illumise have the same thing, except I think I like them even less. So I'm going to put them above Wingull, but below Azurill. Like, they're just the obligatory couple Pokemon, and I think it's underwhelming. Nidoking and Nidoqueen did it way better. Roselia, before Budew or Roserade existed. It's a middle stage grass poison type. Like, when the Victory Ball line exists, why am I going to use this? Honestly, why? Like, it's basically the Carnivine or Maractus of Generation 3 before it got its evolution / pre-evolution, so... Because of its underwhelmingness, let's put it in high to mid E tier. Gulp in these... Nope, I ain't gonna finish that joke. It's a funny poison type. I prefer Grimer. It's also pretty underwhelming. That's one thing about this generation. It has a lot of underwhelming Pokemon, but then has some really, really good banger Pokemon as well. As if that hasn't already been a trend on this list. So there's a little heads up for you there in case you haven't noticed it. You know what, it'll put you above Makihita. Swalot, it's essentially just discount Muck, but derpier looking, way derpier looking. Muck actually could have been pretty cool. Here, you're just derpy looking. So yeah, we're gonna put you mid-E tier as well. Sorry, not sorry. Caravana, pretty decent Piranha Pokemon. The problem is, it has such lackluster defenses. Dude, you could flick this thing and it would fall over. Like, I don't know if Piranhas are that weak in real life, and I don't want to know. But I don't know how accurate that truly is to its real-life counterpart. Though it is fast and does hit decently hard and can be okay early game as long as you don't get hit by, like, a quick attack or something. Though because of that, it's also a pretty good candidate for the ability Rough Skin, so there's a use for it, I guess. So I think we'll put it in high D tier, just because of how underwhelming it is in battle. Sharpedo, definitely better in battle, but still has the frailty problem that Caravana had. But it is a very, very cool shark Pokemon. And I wish we had more shark Pokemon, honestly. We don't really get those very much, even in later generations. And I'm aware the Gibble line exists, but they're land sharks. It's a little different, and I think those are the only other shark Pokemon besides them. And it has a pretty cool design, so other than how frail it is, that definitely docks points off of it, I'm going to put it in low B tier, for that reason. Alright, Wailmer. The bulky water type. Though again, it has the problem of high HP, low defenses, and I think that's a really baffling design decision, though its design itself is quite goofy, so I'm going to put it high D tier. Wailord. The original biggest Pokemon. At 47 feet tall, or long, I guess, in this case. We still don't exactly know how they're measured, either head to toe, or by the side or something, if that makes sense, but again, same problem as Wailmer with high HP, low defenses, so it can still be a decent tank, and water is a good tanky typing, and it gets destructive moves like Water Spout, so there's that about it. And again, everybody talks about the memes of how can you use this thing in buildings when it's that big and it won't fit in most buildings. Mystery, I guess. We'll never know. So, because of this, I think C tier might be appropriate for you. Yeah, let's put you in C tier, because I do definitely wish you were a little bit better in battle, but you being a giant whale is a decent concept for a Pokemon, I'd say. Numel. Definitely my go-to fire type in Generation 3 runs if I choose not to use the Torchic line, and more often than not, I won't use the Torchic line because, again, Swampert exists, and 2 ground types on the same team. I don't want that, obviously, though. That's what I tend to go for anyway, since Generation 3 kinda lacks fire types. I realized that when I first played Pokemon Sapphire, back in my freshman year of high school. But Numel's cool, I suppose. Yeah, cool, I suppose. And it can be found, I think, after the 3rd gym, I believe. It took me a while to level mine into a camera back in those days, so because of that, maybe that could dock points a little bit, but then again, I took the time to level it up into becoming a camera, so definitely got me a little attached to it. We can put you I think we'll put you mid-C tier. Now, Camerupt, despite its typing being not too good defensively, with that quad weakness to water, it's still pretty decent in battle, albeit if you can get around its very slow speed, without Trick Room, mind you. It can be pretty decent. Since Fire, Ground are both offense-oriented typings, it can definitely get a few things done and one-shot a lot of Pokemon. Though, again, since Hoenn is kind of dominated by water types, that is a flaw. But other than that, I'm going to put it high B tier. Yeah, high B tier I think is appropriate for it. Torkoal! Very similar to Pelipper, people only started caring about you because you got Drought in later generations. But unlike Pelipper, your design is actually pretty cool. The anime, Ash's Torkoal was kind of lame, let's be real. Nothing barely won any matches and was constantly crying, so unlike other Pokemon I mentioned earlier in this list, the anime doesn't help you much. But at least your design is cool. It's better than Camerupt and Numel's design in my opinion, though you don't have the ground type to help you offensively. And that base 140 defense step is pretty useful in most cases. It definitely gets its own version of Clear Body, that being White Smoke, but is anybody really using that? To my knowledge, I don't think so. Especially over Drought nowadays. So because of that, I think we'll put you mid-B tier. Because at least your design is cool. You're, again, just like normal, you're found pretty early in the game. And if you feel like using it as your go-to fire-type option, hey, who's stopping you? Spoink! A pig Pokemon that's very underwhelming compared to other pig Pokemon that exist. So, I mean, I like that it's Big Pearl in its head, so that saves it from the E tier, I'd say. That alone kind of helps its design. And I think we'll put it above Mightyena because of that. But that's about it. Other than that, it's not the best in battle. Grumpig, probably one of the most forgotten Pokemon in this generation. Definitely pretty underwhelming. I think so much so I'd put you at the end of D tier. It's not even all that good in battle. There are way better psychic types. Grumpig's another older Pokemon that could definitely get an evolution at some point, and it kind of needs it. In fact, it not having an evolution almost makes me want to put it in E tier now. But because unlike Spoink, you're not cute, so you know what, screw it, you're going E tier. High-end E tier instead. Alright, Spinda, one of the worst Pokemon this generation. You're still better than both Delcatty and Swellow. Your gimmick of no one Spinda is the same. It's kind of like fingerprints in real life. No one person's fingerprints are the same as somebody else's. In this case, no one Spinda has the same face patterns as another one. Though, which isn't fully true. Hell, there are shiny hunting, well, not shiny hunting, but hunting communities of people in the Pokemon community who try to literally hunt for Spindas with the same pattern, facial patterns. If you're one of those people, I think that's even rarer than getting a shiny Pokemon. So, if you're one of those people, hey, good on you. If that's what you truly want to do, that's definitely a little unique thing in the Pokemon community to do if you want. I prefer just doing shiny hunting, though, so down in the F tier you go, your battle skills suck, you learn quite a bit of coverage moves, you get Contrary, which pairs well with Superpower, but there are better Contrary Pokemon out there, with better stats, since your entire stat is just 600 down the board, which is a reference to 360, you know, the angles of a circle, and it constantly looking like it's drunk and spinning in circles. So I guess with that saves it from the bottom of F tier, but you still suck. And I doubt Spinda's getting an evolution anytime soon. It's one of those Pokemon that really shouldn't get an evolution, I should say. But anyways, Shrapnel. Based on the Antlion. It's kind of funny how it's one of those Pokemon where one of its stats is higher than its evolutions, because when it evolves into Vibrava, it loses attack points, but then gains them right back as a Flygon. You might as well just keep the attack the same then. I don't see what the point was of doing that. It loses its attack, but then gains it in a later evolution again. Is that hardly an upgrade then? You're just going back to how you were before in that sense. I don't know, but at least it's okay for the concept it's trying to go for. It's slow, but hits hard. And it's got Arena Trap, so it gives it a small niche there. If you want to use it in something like Little Cup or whatever. So let's put it high C tier. Vibrava, as I stated before, it loses attack when it evolves, which is dumb, but whatever. A Dragonfly Pokemon, being Dragon Ground type. So I think it should go C tier, and its design is decently cute, I guess. Flygon, the original ground dragon type before Gottschalk came along. This thing, actually, if I remember correctly, I hear it was pretty broken back in Generation 3 because of its typing. Though its offenses are kind of lackluster, it's decently fast with base 100 speed, and it gets some good coverage moves like Flamethrower, so it's definitely something very powerful to use if you choose to use it that way. And again, like I stated before, cool design. So, in my opinion, I think you should go A tier. Cacnea! Although the Pokemon that the anime kinda makes better. Much better than James's Victory Bell, I'll tell you that much. But underwhelming in battle, its design is fine. I like the little crown, but that's about it. I'd put you high D tier, I think is appropriate. Caxurn! Let's see, Grass Dark type. And again, just after Shiftry became a thing. It gets Water Absorb, which probably one of the few non-water types that gets that ability. Makes sense, grass absorbing, or plants in general absorbing water. It makes sense, I'd say. But even though it's based on a cactus in a, region where there isn't a lot of rain, specifically the desert is what I mean. But yeah, it's cool design. It's a cross-up between a scarecrow and a cactus, which I think is a pretty decent combination. So because of that, purely for its design, I think I'll put a low B tier, because it's really not all that good in battle. I mean, it could deal a decent Sucker Punch, let's give it that. But that's about it. Swablu. Honestly, if Swablu were the regional bird of this generation, I'd like it a hell of a lot more. It seems like it could have been a better regional bird, but instead we got Garbage Tailo. But it's based on a cotton swab and whatnot, and it's normal flying type, transitions pretty well into its evolution, I'd say. It's cute as well. Just wish it were a bit better in battle, I suppose. So, yeah, let's put it high D tier. Altaria, not too good in battle. Altaria is more trying to be a tank that can set up certain moves like Perish Song, I can tell. So, I think because of that, I'm not the biggest fan of overly... Well, I'm not going to say that because I'm a guy who likes Hisuian Goodra, a really tanky Pokemon. So, I mean, its typing doesn't really help with it being tanky, though. It being a Dragon type makes it outclassed to Flygon, because Flygon hits harder and is faster, and learns more coverage moves. So yeah, because of that, it definitely drops Altaria's points. So I'm going to put it in C tier, I think below Lanoon. Because yeah, I like his design. It's a nice little cloud, but it's so underwhelming in battle. It's clearly more just for tanking hits and setting up and making like utility happen like Perish Song. That's pretty much its move, and it doesn't really do that too well. Alright, Zangoose. Zangoose, you gotta go in low S tier, because Zangoose, one of my favorite Pokemon. Sure, it's not the best in battle compared to, say, Slaking or other normal types in earlier generations, like Tauros, but because of how cool it looks, and its nice little rivalry with Survivor, I gotta put it high up. And I like its unique ability of Toxic Boost, which is essentially just Guts, but only affected by poison, which in a way is more a nerf, if anything, but it's still really, really cool. Survivor. Essentially just discount Arbok, but somehow less cool, and personally I think it should have been part Dark-type, even more so than Arbok. But, because of that, I think I might put it... Yeah, we're going to put it low... Well, it's not very good in battle, so yeah, no B tier for you. I do at least like its design. Heck, in some ways it's better than Arbok, like its design. But again, it's underwhelming in battle. It gets Infiltrator as a hidden ability, which, okay. It doesn't get much coverage compared to Zangoose. It's just there. It didn't really need to exist, and it purely does for its rivalry with Zangoose. Like Vipers and Mongooses, I think, fight in real life. I think that's what that's based on. I could be wrong. If somebody knows, please let me know. But other than that, I think we'll put you below... Let's put you below Numel. Because your design really does save you. Lunatone! Alright. What is your favorite Pokemon cry? Because Lunatone's is my favorite. I've always liked its cry. Do-do-do. Something like that. It's such a cool cry. But its design is alright too. A floating moon with a giant red eyeball. It could have been way more bland if you think about it, but it didn't. It isn't that bland in my opinion. And again, like I said before, because of its cry, I think I'd put it relatively high B tier. Let's put it above Trico, just because of its cry. I really like its cry. Solrock. You know one thing? When Sun and Moon came out, why weren't Solrock and Lunatone available in those games? Can someone answer that for me? I don't know. In my opinion, they should have been available in those games, and they just weren't. But anyways, that doesn't really help on their ranking on the tier list. But you get some interesting moves like Flare Blitz. You're not all that good in battle. You're no better than Lunatone. And I don't like your design nor your cry nearly as much. So they both should give you and Lunatone a buff at some point. I think because of this, we'll put you low C tier. Because I definitely wish you were a bit better design-wise, just like Lunatone. And again, both of them should have just been much better in battle. Rock Psychic really isn't a good type combo, but I do like that it gets Fire-type moves in later generations. So you know, because of that, I'm going to I'm gonna move it up on the list just a little bit. Yeah, I think that's decent. Barboach. Probably the most underwhelming water ground type. Of all the water ground types in previous gens and in later generations, it's definitely my least favorite. I don't dislike it, but man, it could have been better. Yeah, you know, it's so much so that I think you should go easier. It could have been better. And Whiscash, it's derpy looking. Nope, again, like I said before, over any of the other water ground types, I'm not going to use this thing. I'm just not going to use it. Water ground, cool typing, but why the hell would I use that over Swampert, you know? Or Quagsire, or Seismitoad. Corphish, actually kind of funny. It's essentially a slightly better Krabby, both design and in battle. And the anime made me like it a bit more, I suppose. So let's put it high D tier. Crawdon, pretty decent in battle, but it's frail. Not as frail as Sharpedo, but it's pretty decent in battle. Gets some good coverage moves, gets Dragon Dance adaptability, which is always powerful. And yeah, I think because of that, you deserve mid-B tier. And your design's pretty cool as well. Baltoy. Your obligatory go-to Screensmon, if you're not using things like, say, Alolan Ninetales with Aurora Veil. Its design is based on a Dreidel, I believe. Yeah. Or am I wrong about that? Something like that. It's partially based on those. But outside of that, it spins around a lot. It's a ground psychic type, which again is another pretty underwhelming type combo. I think still the only ground psychic type to this day, or am I wrong about that? I don't remember, but other than that, I think you're gonna go low D tier. Kaladol. It's tanky, though I wish I had a better HP stat. And again, it's the opposite example, and won't be the last example of that in this list, where instead of high HP, low defenses, it has low HP, high defenses. Which again, I just think, and its typing doesn't help with that either. Ground Psychic is not the best defensively. It just doesn't help with that. You know, like, it's trying to be tanky, but its low HP stat definitely lets it out a bit. I've only base 60. That and its design is a little creepy looking and not in a good way. It's clearly trying not to be creepy, but it ends up being that. It also looks a little too much like Shakuamon from Digimon, I suppose. Didn't Shakuamon come before this? Ooh, they were stealing ideas, weren't they? But anyways, you're definitely better than Baltoy, in my opinion. So, at least design-wise, you're a bit better than Baltoy. It's a decent progression into the next stage, I guess. So, because of that, yeah, let's put you high to mid-D tier. And I do like using Scorching Sands on it in later generations. It can be a decent tank if you need a decent tank, but there are much better tanks out there. Lil Leap. A fossil Pokemon, that's okay, I guess. The first grass rock type? It's okay, I guess. I think I just put it... Well, let's put it low D tier. It doesn't really have much use, I'd say. Now, Cradilly. It gets Storm Drain. It's actually a pretty decent battle. It's a good tank, unlike a certain Pokemon I was just talking about. And I think its typing is alright defensively. But it being a grass and rock type, one of the notoriously worst defensive typings in the game, does give it a few rough spots in terms of its weaknesses. On one hand, you got a grass type that isn't weak to fire or flying, but on another hand, you got a rock type that's weak to bug types, so yeah, not the best. Or another type can touch steel types for even neutral. And you also have a grass type that doesn't die to poison type moves, so I guess there's that. And a rock type that doesn't die to water types, so it's got a lot of things going for it, I suppose. And again, like I said before, pretty decent in battle. So I think because of that, we're going to put it mid-B tier. Though I do wish this design were a little better. Anorith. I think it's based on those prehistoric shellfishes, kind of like Kabuto. But unlike Kabuto, it can actually do some okay damage, though it is quite slow, so be careful of that. But I think I'll probably put it in the same place as Lily, because it is a little ugly to look at. Alright, Armaldo. Far from my favorite fossil Pokemon, but this thing can actually do some really good damage to its base 125 attack stat, gets water type coverage, and fighting type coverage, I believe, as well, which I love running with like a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf set. Because of that, I think I'll put you high, like low A tier. Yeah, I'll put you low A tier, because your design is a little goofy, and that's kind of the downside to you. If your design were better, then honestly, I'd consider putting you in S tier. Or either that or at least low A tier. Feebas, ugly Pokemon, discount Magikarp, that's kind of the point, I guess, being a counterpart to Magikarp. But just like Magikarp, you're underwhelming and even worse design-wise, so... I think we'll just put you above... Yeah, we'll put you below Gulp and above Makihita. Now, Milotic, pretty good in battle. its stats are a rearrangement of Gyarados' stats, and I don't like it nearly as much as Gyarados since it doesn't hit as hard. But in exchange, it's much tankier than Gyarados, though it does lack the flying typing that Gyarados had. And I think because of that, just because of his battle prowess, I'm going to put a low A tier. And its design is okay too, I guess. Just wish it was as good as Gyarados. Now, Castform, alright, this is another rule I forgot to mention as well. For any Pokemon, I think this is the first generation where outside of Mega Evolutions, Pokemon start having alternate forms. And this is far from the last time we'll see this, so I think I'll rank the forms individually. I think that sounds pretty fair. So starting with normal Castform. Look, I like Castform. Not my favorite normal type. It's not the best in battle, but I think it's adorable as hell. It's a rare Pokemon that's really hard to get as well. I hope in a future game they make it like exclusive of one area or something, which in my opinion what the Gen 3 games should have initially done instead of, oh hey, we developed this Pokemon in the Weather Institute, here you go. After saving them from Team Aqua/Magma, depending on your version. But other than that, I just wish it was better in battle and found more exclusively someplace else, like maybe in a hidden area or something. Like, oh hey, there's a rumor of this Pokemon being around, it controls the weather. And I like its gimmick of how it changes forms depending on the weather it's under, so that's always pretty cool. And again, this generation does have a bit of a gimmick around weather, as we'll see later on in this list, and I think it fits pretty well into that world. So because of that, I think I'll put it mid-A tier. The Sun form. The little sun patterns are cute, and its fire-type Weather Ball, the original user of Weather Ball before it became a TM in Generation 8, and I think a tutor move in Gen 7. So yeah, also A tier. Just because it's cute as hell, and honestly, I think we should just put the other forms in A tier as well. Because I like all their designs. The Snow form being my favorite one, probably, because one is the most unique of the four of them, even though it should have been Sandstorm form, didn't happen. But on the other, it's a nice gimmick, and you could definitely build a team around it if you wanted to. Heck, if only Castform had a better special attack stat instead of having base 70 across the board, which is just slightly better than the likes of Spinda. It could definitely be really good. If it was just good in battle, I'd honestly consider putting it in S tier, really. Kecleon, another gimmick Pokemon in this game with the color change ability. Which, it's still to this day the only Pokemon that gets such an ability, which is alright, I suppose, nothing wrong with that. But it also gets Protean in later generations, and, like, why are you gonna use this thing over Greninja or Cinderace, you know? Libero is very similar to Protean, that's why I say that, so yeah. Like, why are you gonna use this over Greninja, even in Generation 6? I don't know, just... It is underwhelming in battle, despite having a pretty decent special defense stat, but having a good special defense stat is not everything, so... Underwhelming normal type with a pretty blandish chameleon design. I really hope we get a better, like, chameleon dragon Pokemon, like, say, Chameleos from Monster Hunter, for example. That could be a decent concept right there, so I kind of hope that happens someday. And it could be a legendary, too, even. They can even have Chameleos as a little origin, but I'm going slightly off topic there. Because of your underwhelming gimmick and your pretty blandish design, let's just put you mid-D tier. Shuppet, a cute ghost type that's found mid-game. There are better ghost types out there, in my opinion. Its design is really the only thing that's got going for it. I'll put it higher in C tier. Bayonet, not much better. It's probably one of the worst ghost types ever created, battle-wise. Its design being a creepy doll, in my opinion, makes me think it should have been part dark type. It's got a decent sucker punch, I guess, even though it's non-stab, so maybe not the best, especially compared to, say, Absol. But high attack stat, the rest of its stats are really underwhelming, so yeah, like high to mid C tier. Actually, you know what? No, because of your pretty lackluster battle prowess, we'll put you low in C tier. Duskull. Alright, one of my favorite Pokemon this generation. Duskull's super cool. I like this thing. It's got a really cool design based around a Grim Reaper. It evolves into some pretty cool Pokemon. It's a cool dude. And much better than Shuppet. Dusclops. Again, one of my favorite Pokemon in this generation. Like, Dusclops is fucking awesome. And again, it does suffer from the low HP, high defense problem that I talked about before. But it can still take some hits depending on which generation we're talking about, even pre-Eviolite. And it can dish out moves like Will-O-Wisp, Nightshade, Confuse Ray, Mean Look, Pain Split, Splits the Pain. You got quite a number of options with such a tanky ghost type, and because of it being a ghost type, it doesn't have that many weaknesses. So you could definitely take advantage of that. And I think it was the original user of Shadow Punch before other mons like Golurk and Gengar got it. Trophius, probably one of my second favorite grass type. Because of that, I'm going to put it relatively high, but if it was better in battle, I'd definitely put it much higher. I do like its little banana chin, that's adorable and cool at the same time. You ever hungry? Just get a banana right off your Petrophius. I almost said Chingling. Chimecho, very underwhelming, E tier. Doesn't do much in battles. Design, it's based on a wind chime, which I guess is charming, but that's about it. It doesn't really have much going on with its design past that. So we'll put you above Feebas, I think is fair. Actually, no, we'll put it above Swalot. Absol, I wish it was better in battle, and as I stated earlier with Bayonet, it's actually got probably one of the strongest Sucker Punch users ever, but that's pretty much all it's good for, just Sucker Punch. It gets some decent coverage moves like Ice Beam, but it's really only good for just Sucker Punch. That's it. It's sad, honestly. For a Pokemon with such a cool canine-like design, it's so bland in battle and just it's good for one thing and one thing only. One other thing it was also good for, specifically in Oris, where you can use it to farm Life Orbs through the Dex Nav, so if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire still to this day, in late 2023, and you want to farm Life Orbs, so that's how you do it. You can get them for free instead of grinding 48 BP, which can take a while in that game. I did that all the time back when Oris were new games. Because of that and its cool design, we're going to put it low A tier, because again, it's got a cool design. I like its origin about it being the disaster Pokemon, and when it shows up, that means a disaster is looming. That's cool, but it's so underwhelming in battle, really only being good for Sucker Punch users. And there are other Pokemon that can use Sucker Punch and do a lot more, get a lot more done. That, an absolute base 60 in both of its defenses, it's really frail. Like, you throw a Mach Punch or a Vacuum Wave this thing's way, it won't take it. It won't take a Quick Attack or an Extreme Speed too well either. Why not? Why not I put you in low E tier? Because you are very underwhelming. Just a slightly weaker Wobbuffet that's less annoying to go against, but still can be annoying if you ever run into it. Only one that you can get in Lava Ridge Town, but once you hatch it, why the fuck are you going to evolve it outside of Pokedex completion, you know? Snorunt. Underwhelming Ice type. Its design, okay, I guess. I'm not getting much vibes from it, honestly. So, yeah, just mid-E tier. It doesn't really deserve to be anywhere else. Glalie! Like its design, a floating head that looks decently scary. It should have been part Dark type, but whatever, or part Rock type, that would have fit as well. Either way, both typings wouldn't have made it too good anyways. And again, just like Spinda and Castform, it has the same stats, being this time base 80 across the board. And it gets moody in later generations, which we all know how annoying that ability can be. And it gets decent coverage moves like Rollout or Earthquake. So, it's okay in battle. It could be much better in battle, which is what's going to hinder it from going any higher on this list. Because of that, I think, because I do like his design, I think we'll put you mid-B tier. Because if you were better in battle, you'd easily go A tier, but that's about it. And one thing, I keep forgetting when Ash ever got his Glalie in the anime, because I swear, I see that thing and I go, oh, I forgot he got a Glalie. When did he get a Glalie? If anybody knows the episode where he got a Glalie, please tell me. I'm going to try looking up that episode. But anyways, Spheal. It's adorable. It's basically Seal, but way, way better. It's so fucking cute. Just look how happy it is. And it rolls around to traverse the land as well. And it just swims so cutely. If you haven't seen its swimming animation, you really should. Ah, man, this thing's adorable. So we'll put you high A tier just because of how cute you are. Celio, a decent middle stage between the cuteness of Spheal and the coolness of Walrein. Because of that, A tier for you, and you can be a decent mid-game tank, actually, despite your ice typing not being good for tanking hits. Walrein. Basically way better than Dugong. It can actually tank hits thanks to its decent HP stat, and again, unlike Wailord, high HP, low defenses, it doesn't entirely suffer from that. It has high HP, but it's got decent defenses as well. I think base like 80? It's a little lackluster offensively, but because of it being a part ice type, it can at least get more offensive things done because of that. Because of that, Walrein's actually pretty decent in battle, so... And it's got a cool design too, a little old man walrus. I kind of find that charming. And the big tusks are cool too, so because of that, high A tier for you. You earned it. Clamperl. Another gimmick-ish Pokemon that just evolves into two separate things and that's it. I hope we get a regional form for it that's like a dragon type at some point in the future, which I think Pokemon Insurgents did something like that in its Delta form, so... You definitely don't deserve E tier, but I think low... D tier should do for you. Yeah, we'll put you above the Kappa Pokemon. Because, actually, we'll put you above Baltoy. Because you don't really do much in battle and you purely exist for your split evolution line, but a Pokemon based on a Clam is pretty cool, and I think slightly better than Shelter, personally, but other than that, at least design-wise it is. Huntail, I remember getting a shiny Clamperl in Pokemon X and Y back when I was in middle school, Pokemon Y specifically, when I learned about chain fishing. I turned that Clamperl into a Huntail, so I have a bit of extra attachment to Huntail because of that, but it's kind of underwhelming in battle. There are way better water types out there. Excuse my stutter. There are way better water types out there, so I'm afraid you have to go below Wailord. You're still better than Bayonet and anything below it battle-wise, but you're slow, you can't take a hit too well, and you don't do that much damage either. Well, you could do okay damage, I guess, but that's about it. Gorbis, unlike Huntail, I don't have an attachment, some sort of attachment to it, and it's even less good in battle, I'd say. It gets even less coverage. Got a decent special attack stat, but that's about it. And one thing about Clamperl I forgot to mention, if it holds a Deep Sea's Tooth, which is what evolves into a Huntail, it gets higher special attack, but if you have it hold a Deep Sea Scale, it gets higher special defense. Just evolve it. Why are you going to use those on it? Unless you're doing like Little Cup or something, why are you going to use those on it? But anyways, Gorbis, I'll put you right next to Clamperl. You're not much better. Relicanth, probably another one of the most underwhelming Pokemon this generation. It's got a decent HP stat, but that's about it. It's a living fossil, which is a decent thing about it, but I'd rather just use one of the resurrected fossil Pokemon like Aerodactyl, you know? But this thing's underwhelming in battle. It's one of the few users of Hedge Smash which gives at some points, but other than that, I think we'll put you maybe high... Nah, maybe not high E tier. We'll put you, like, middling E tier. You really don't have much going for you. Then you have one of the worst type combos in Water Rock, so no. Luvdisc. Fucking underwhelming, and it purely exists for heart scale farming. Excuse my stuttering. There's really nothing much to it. Luvdisc should have gotten an evolution, but you know the devs think it purely exists for heart scales. But ever since Generation 8, now that heart scales aren't a thing anymore and aren't needed to remember moves, now it's fucking useless. So I think because of that, I'm going to lower it just a little bit more on the list. It's fucking useless now without heart scales. Pre-Gen 8, it at least had some use because, hey, I need to farm these guys for heart scales. But now, there's no point since they don't exist anymore. So any game that Luvdisc is in, it's fucking useless now. Bagon, one of my favorite Pokemon this generation. Yeah, I have to put you in S tier. I love Bagon. One of my favorite pseudo-legendary lines, if not my favorite pseudo-legendary line. I love its inspiration of it being a Pokemon that really wished to fly, and because of its hard wishes, that got boiled into its evolutionary line and its DNA, which I think is pretty fucking cool. Shelgon, it's trying to be like Pupitar, where it goes from a little baby dragon or a little baby creature into some sort of cocoon, which is strange, and this is the last time we ever see this in the pseudo-legendary line, second and last time, weirdly enough. So, I don't know, because of that, it's a little weird to me. Then it's really not, it's alright in battle, but it's kind of slow, and can be hard to use because of its low speed. At least in mid to late game, since you can't get Bagon until after the 8th gym, so good luck trying to train this thing up before the Elite Four. I did, and boy, let me tell you, it took a while, because of how slow this thing is. It doesn't hit too hard either. So because of that, it does dock off a few points. Let's put you right here. Oh, yeah, let me backtrack a little. I want to put Lairon slightly higher. Salamence? Okay, you all know me. I fucking love Salamence. One of my favorite Pokemon. This thing is so cool design-wise. For any of you who don't agree, well, too bad. It's my opinion. Calm down. But I really like Salamence. It's cool design-wise. It's very good in battle. You can use Intimidate to lower other people's stats. You can use Moxie if you want a nice sweeper for mid to late game. Its typing isn't the best, sure, but it gets a lot of coverage moves like Fire Fang, Earthquake, Steel Wing. It's got a lot going for it. Get some water type moves like Hydro Pump and Aqua Tail. I bet it'd be a really fearsome creature to have in real life. I guess my only tiny gripe with it is that it's kind of short for what it is. It's only 4'11". It's probably a lot larger than that. So it's likely only being... It's probably only being measured from, like, head to toe, likely. That's probably why it's only 4'11". But if we're going from head to tail, it's likely 7-8 feet tall, which is more than large enough for you to ride on it, like a majestic dragon that it is. So Salamence, S tier, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite Pokemon ever. Beldum. This thing is kind of dumb in some sort of ways. Up until Generation 8, only learning Takedown, which is a weird design choice, but... At least in Generation 3, after you beat the Elite Four, it's found late game, so you can pretty much just switch trade it and get it to Metang pretty easily. And no matter which generation you're playing, that's kind of the case. So it only knowing takedown up until Generation 8 where that got replaced with tackle isn't that big a burden if you look at it that way. So I think, and it's a decently cute progression into other things as well, into its evolutions. Only having one eyeball, you'd think it would look a little creepy, but in my opinion, not really. So I think we'll put it high B tier because of it. Metang, another one of my favorite mid-stage evolutions. Nice progression between these two evolutions. Pretty decent in battle. And I like using it with Eviolite. That's just me. So because of that, I think we'll put it right here. Mid-A tier should do for you. And now Metagross, another one of my favorite Pokemon, S tier for you. Both of the pseudo-legendaries in this generation very good in battle. Metagross is a bit tankier than Salamence, but in exchange is much slower. And has the Steel Psychic type being the very first Steel Psychic type. And because of that, actually makes it really tanky in battle, especially before Steel types were no longer able to resist Dark and Ghost type moves. Only being weak to ground or fire. This thing hits super hard, has a cool signature move, an awesome design, sounds pretty cool in the anime with its voice. Man, what's not to love about Metagross? This thing is so cool. A Mechanical Spider really works well. If you told me that a Mechanical Spider would work as a design, I'd believe you, and here we are. Even though it has 4 legs now, to ignore that, it's still technically a spider in some ways. Metal Spider is cool, though. Alright, now we're into exclusively legendaries. And for starters, Regirock. Far from my favorite of the Regis. It's kind of underwhelming in battle, because it's supposed to be a tank, but again, you're a rock type. You don't have a lot of resistances, and you have a myriad of weaknesses, so that makes you hard to use. A decent attack stat, which you can do some okay damage with that, but that isn't going to go very far. At least till Generation 8, where you get Body Press, and now in Generation 9, the Age of Terrestrialization, you can actually do a little something with that high defense stat of yours. So because of that, it definitely bumps you up a little bit. But I think this is an appropriate spot for you. Because I at least like your design. And you're cool in the anime too. You're not that strong despite being a legendary Pokemon, so that definitely docks a good number of points for you. But other than that, Regirock's cool. Regice. Not much better than Regirock, it being an ice type and it being specially defensive rather than physically defensive. Either way, it wouldn't help it anyways. Because ice is more an offensive type rather than defensive. And you don't resist a lot of things, so that can make things very, very hard for you. But I still at least like your design. I like the Blunder Policy set I made for it one time, so it at least has something decent going for it in battle. I'll put it right next to its brethren. Registeel. Of the original 3 Regis, probably the only one that was actually pretty decent. Probably had the best design of the 3 of them. It being the jack of all trades of the 3, which isn't always the case. Look at Mesprit. It's never always good. Again, I show you Exhibit Mesprit. But it being a steel type already makes it way better than its other 2 counterparts. So because of that, it makes it way better defensively, but it's also worse offensively because of that. Especially before fairy types were around, it was not all that good offensively. Though it does learn some decent coverage moves like Zap Cannon or Earthquake. If you want to run an old school Toxic strat on it, you can, and it does it pretty well. You can recover a Rest or Citrus Berry if you please, even though those are not the best forms of recovery it could have gotten. But it's alright. And I think Registeel, I know, it's meant to take hits, it's not meant to deal damage. I wish it could deal just a bit more damage. That's one thing that I really wish from it. So because of that, we're going to put you in low A tier. But you've earned a pretty decent spot nonetheless. Latias! Between the Eon duo, Latias is the one I prefer slightly less, but Latias is at least cute and is still good in battle, so I have to put it at least in high to mid A tier. I think this is an appropriate spot. Because, like I said before, it's cute, it's decent in battle. It gets a lot of coverage moves like Surf or Thunderbolt, or in later generations, Draining Kiss. It's got a lot going for it. So, I think we should put it in A tier. Latios. Alright, probably another one of my favorite Pokemon this generation. Also, I just realized Mega Latios and Mega Latios are considered one Pokemon on this list. But anyways. Alright, you're gonna go in S tier. I think we'll put you here. Because you're very, very good in battle, much better in battle. Much better in battle than your sister is. You're less tanky than Latias, but in exchange, you have higher offenses. And in my opinion, I think Latios, especially for its typing, it definitely needs more offense than defense. And Latios is considered one of the best Pokemon to use in battle facilities alongside Swampert and Metagross, as I've seen in some speedruns. of Generation 3 games, and if you happen to get Latios and you need it for a battle facility or for competitive play, definitely a go-to mon. One of the most go-to mons in this entire generation, I'd say, for battle facilities and competitive play. So Latios, you're in the middle of S tier. Congratulations. Kyogre. Between the two legendaries, battle-wise, I prefer Kyogre, because you can do a really devastating water spout attack, and its weather definitely benefits it more over Groudon's weather. And between the two, obviously, Kyogre's going to win, especially whoever gets their weather off. So because of that, I think I'd put it, because I'm always a Sapphire person, or Alpha Sapphire. I tend to go towards Sapphire, so because of that, I have more of a bias towards it. So I think what we should do, I think we'll put you low S tier. Actually, yeah, low S tier. Yeah, low S tier, I think we'll do. Because you're very good in battle. Of course, you're a legendary Pokemon. You're supposed to be. And John Whale, I think, is pretty awesome. Now, Groudon, not as good in battle as Kyogre is, but design-wise, I think I prefer it just slightly, design-wise. But nonetheless, it's still really cool in battle. I just wish its ground-type moves were powered up by fire-type moves, so that's not how that works. Other than that, really sick design. It's pretty cool in battle, even if it's slightly less good than Kyogre. I think it deserves S tier. Rayquaza! We're almost done with this list now, and Rayquaza? Man, who doesn't like Rayquaza? This thing's awesome as well. So I think we'll put it alongside the other Weather Trio. Definitely one of the better legendary trios that we've gotten over the years. And funnily enough, it was the original one, I'd say. The original legendary trio, unless you're counting Lugia and Celebi as a trio, which I don't think they count as a trio. But Rayquaza's super cool. It's basically a better Dragonite in pretty much every way. It's faster, it hits harder, it can cancel weather effects if you want to use it that way. And, yeah, decent trio master, the ruler of the sky rather than the ruler of the land and the sea, which again I think is a pretty decent triangle. So you deserve the S tier. Jirachi. Very similar to both Mew and Celebi. Because it's cute design, it's good in battle, cool typing, a nice origin being based on wishing stars and whatnot. I liked it in its starring movie, The Wishmaker, Jirachi and the Wishmaker. Go watch it if you haven't already. That movie came out in like 2005. Who hasn't watched it yet? But anyways, I think because of that, I think we'll put you low. Yeah, we'll put you below Registeel. I think low A tier is appropriate for you, because like I said with everything else, it's quite a cool Pokemon. Now the final Pokemon being Deoxys' different forms. Let's be real, none of these forms I outright dislike. The only form I'd say is a little underwhelming is its attacking form, or not attacking form, its normal form, which is essentially just its attacking form, but its offenses are a little lower, and its defenses are a bit higher. Base 150 for offenses, and base 50 for defenses, which, in my opinion, this is not how they should have done the normal form. So because of that, because at least it's a cool design, but it's a space virus, but low B tier specifically for its normal form, because it should have been like the Jack of all trades form. That's what its normal form should have been, in my opinion. Maybe a base 100 for its attack to its defenses. It's base 50 HP. And then, like, I don't know, or base 80 for its stats maybe across the board instead. I think would have been better. Actually, no. Yeah, no, it wouldn't have. Like, base 85 across the board maybe, or base 90 I think would have been better. Something like that. I'd have to, that's a bit of mental math that I have to do. Yeah, actually, that would have worked just fine. Base 100 across the board. So, like, from attack to special defense, base 100. And you could have done the same for its speed as well. And then 50 HP, that would have made a base stat total of 550. So, it could have been, like, base 110 across the board. And then base 50 for its HP. Something like that. Like, a Jack of all trades form like that maybe would have worked just fine instead of what we got. Excuse the mental math in the middle of the list. I kind of wanted to do that. Now, the attacking form, oh, yes. The ultimate glass cannon Pokemon, if you are not using this thing, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I'll put it above Latios, because it's got a slightly better design than its normal form. But, because it definitely gets across that it's going to hit you hard, but it's really frail as well. Base 180 in both of its attacking stats, and only base 20 in its defense stat. Sure, this thing will easily die off to a priority move like Extreme Speed or Aqua Jet. But if you let this thing hit you, oh, it is very likely to with its base 150 speed, you're not going to survive. You're not going to survive. I guarantee you. I bet both of my arms you will not take an attack from this thing if it hits you first. Especially if it's a super effective move. I bet both my arms and both my legs you won't survive a super effective move with this. And no focus sashes or sturdy count. Those don't count. I mean raw surviving an attack from this thing. Without that shit. You won't! And without stab buffs either. That's how sure that I am that you won't be able to survive this thing. I'd bet all 4 of my limbs you will not be able to survive it, like a Psycho Boost or an Ice Beam or a Shadow Ball from this thing. Mostly a Psycho Boost. Because stab and it's its signature move, which is a cool signature move. Essentially just Psychic type, Leaf Storm, or Overheat. So, yeah, because of that, really high S tier with you. The thing is awesome. Its defense form, look, Psychic type isn't the best defensive typing. It has 3 weaknesses, but to 2 resistances, that being itself and fighting. It really needs, I think Psychic type needs a bit more resistances. But its defense form, like, there are better defense forms out there, like Cresselia. So, like, why am I going to use this over Cresselia? You know, its defense is, base 160 in both defenses is pretty cool. And it can be used for setting up, like, spikes and whatnot, though I'd prefer using its speed form for that. And it gets Recover, too, so it's not the worst thing ever, but again, there are other bulky Psychic types like Claydol or Cresselia that just do its job better with higher HP stats. That's pretty much it. And something else going for, like, a different signature move or a secondary typing, all that stuff. So, because of that, I think defense form Deoxys is a little underwhelming. Though, again, I like how its design definitely gives off that it's a bit of a tank. And it's going to take some hits, being, unlike the other forms, it doesn't have really any exposed skin. So, definitely shows that it can take a hit or two. And what I mean by exposed skin, like the gray parts on the other Deoxys forms, like the normal form, as you can see on the attacking form, and the speed form, kind of looking like it's not really wearing much. But I can get to that in a second. So, because of that, just because it's a really lackluster defensive Pokemon, which I hear works decently well in competitive, we'll put it in low B tier. But I do like the idea with this design kind of looking like it's really bulky and whatnot. Like, it could definitely take a few hits. Because of that, maybe I'd actually design, just because of its design, I think I'll put it above its normal form. And now, like I stated before, this is the final Pokemon we'll rate on here. Speed Mode Deoxys. Because of it looking like it's wearing less compared to the other forms, it definitely gives off a good sense of it being very fast. It definitely ends up being my second favorite of the Deoxys forms. And I also like Deoxys' origin of being a space virus, which is really, really cool. And it having base 180 speed, being the fastest Pokemon up until, well, Regieleki showed up. Gee, Regieleki, steal somebody's spotlight. But I like using moves like Spikes or Stealth Rocks with it, or setting up screens with it, better than its defensive form, I'd say. And there's a good number of things you could do with it. Sure, it's not gonna hit anywhere near as hard as its normal or its attack form, but it definitely gets its job done if you're looking to set up like certain hazards or just get off a few revenge killing. It's definitely good for revenge killing as well. And unlike attack mode Deoxys, because of its decent defensive stats, or more like underwhelming defensive stats, I should say, not decent, it at least won't get revenge killed too easily. Well, though it is susceptible to both Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak, so do be careful about that. But other than that, probably the second best of the Deoxys forms, and I'd say, for our final ranking, why don't we're going to put you in low A tier. I think you've earned that spot. And with that being said, again excluding the Mega Evolutions, they will get a separate list. This is my opinion on every Generation 3 Hoenn Pokemon. What are your opinions on the Hoenn Pokemon? Is your list similar to mine? Answer the question of the day. If you'd like to take the time, make your own tier list in the comment section below. I'd love to see your opinions. So, thank you everybody for watching. When we hit 500 subscribers, we'll do the Generation 4 tier list. So, thank you all again for helping me reach 450 subscribers. If y'all enjoyed this and want to see more, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and follow one of the videos you see on screen right now if on YouTube. Anyways, here's to 500 subs, and thank you everybody for watching, and have a berrific day.